One of the things you might need to do at some point is to restore a backup of an EVE database. Perhaps restore a backup of your live database to then act as your training database for future purposes as you bring on new members of staff. So let's look at how we could do that. If you go to the Start menu on your PC, go to All Programs, look for the ISIS folder, and you will then find EVE Database Utilities. That will open up a box saying Connect to SQL Server. And here I am looking for the data source on my local PC, i.e. this is being done on the PC holding the EVE database. And I can leave as the default username and password what has been set up during my initial install of EVE. So leave that information as you see it. Click OK. And now I am going to restore a database. So I hit the Restore Database radio button and click Apply. The next thing this form will ask me to do is excuse me, to say where the database file that I want to back up from is. So I click the lookup bar and I am going to look in my EVE Backups folder. And if I go to my EVE Backups folder, I will be able to see backups by particular days, or I could look for anywhere else, of course, to navigate to where I may have saved those backups. This particular one, I will just look for a backup from a particular day. Let's say it is today. So I say it is this backup file, and then I mentioned that one of the things I might do is restore this as a training database, or I could restore it as a new staff database. What I'm driving at is you can enter the name here as you see fit. So I'm going to enter here Restore as Database EVE, and for this one, Training Staff. Leave the backup position as 1, and then you'll note down here that EVE will have already populated the default settings of C program files, integrated Scuba systems, EVE-DB, EVE. Now, if you recall, I decided to create this as a new named database of training staff, in addition to that EVE icon, so I'm just going to add those names into both these MDF and LDF folders. So if you take a moment to look at the screen now, you'll see that we have said there is a certain backup file that we're going to create and restore as a new database to train our staff, which we're calling EVE Training Staff, and that will end up creating these two new files, a database file and a logical file that we need to run EVE, in our usual EVE database folder. I then hit Restore Database. EVE will ask me to type in the word yes to confirm that is what I want to do, and then I leave SQL Server to drive the database restore functionality, and you will now see a message as you see on screen that says done, OK, at which point you have restored a database. You can then exit EVE Database Utilities, and that is how you can successfully restore databases to create either a new training database or, as we've seen on other of the videos, after an import that perhaps didn't go quite the way you wanted to and you need to go back to an earlier version.